Friend, there is this lot of discussion happening in India specifically around inflation. There's a lot of talks among friend circles, relations and investor communities around inflation. And India is not left alone. World over, friend circles all around the world are discussing about inflation. And it's not only friend circle but investor communities as well. So it's important for us to understand what is inflation, why is it caused, what are the impacts it can have into your life, what are the miseries it can create in your life. We need to understand that as well. We need to also understand if it's going to cause misery into our lives, should we not combat it? Should we not know measures or ways where we can combat inflation? So those are the aspects which I will be covering in this particular session. So stay tuned, share, subscribe to your friends and relatives so that they can also gain advantage from this knowledge about inflation and how to combat it as well. So coming to first things first, what is inflation? So when you hear this word inflation, you recollect about this tire. The rubber tires of vehicles, when it is deflated, you pump in air in it. When you pump in air, it's inflated. And once it's inflated, the vehicle which uses this tire then starts to rolling up again, back to life, starts to roll, start to give life to the vehicle. But if the inflation of the tire is slightly less or too much, then you'll realize that vehicle starts to destabilize, start stumbling either way. And it's dangerous for the vehicle, obviously, isn't it? The same thing happens when you have inflation in our economy. Now, what is inflation in our economy? It's not about pumping air in the economy, isn't it? The air is replaced with money supply. So, money supply in the economy increases. So, inflation is necessarily the rise of cost of goods and services in the economy. Whatever you will be buying, that is, foods, we call it pulses, we call it vegetables, maybe non-veg, call it, you want to buy clothes, you want to go on a travel, transportation cost, all this cost will rise due to inflation. Inflation is the rise of cost of all these aspects to meet your daily essentials as well as your flexible expenses. So now, why is this inflation actually caused? There is reduced demand which actually happens in the economy, and due to reduction of demand in the economy, what the central government does is increases the supply of money in the economy. It makes money cheap. And how it makes money cheap? It reduces the interest rates. They reduce the interest rates which people can borrow on. When people borrow this money, they get it at a cheaper rate. So they have this notion about free money, right? It's almost like free. You're paying less for the money you're borrowing. And you can then use this very money to invest, to buy like housing or buy consumer goods or buy even essential goods with using this particular borrowed money. Now with this borrowed money, what happens is there is increase of supply in the hands of the people, and because the increase of supply in the hands of the people tend to spend more. Now when people tend to spend more on the same commodity or same kind of service which they were consuming either way in the past, they then cause the rise of those very essentials in the market. Now with this rise of essentials in the market, other people also tend to see that the cost of goods now are increasing, and it's all because of the free supply of money, which causes more demand in the economy. So that is the reason why inflation is actually caused. And now how is it going to impact your life? Let us understand that. Okay, inflation is about rising cost of goods, rising cost of services, rising cost of transportation, vacation becomes expensive. A lot of aspects in your life, essentials as well as non-essentials, now become expensive for you. But nevertheless, you can afford in the short term. Rising costs you are affording in the short term because you have free money. But over a long period of time, it's going to impact you. How it's going to impact you? Over a long period of time. Today you don't see the impact because you have free money today. You now spend, and because of the increase of demand and because of the rising costs, the governments are worried, right? They can't expect the poor people to spend so much. So now they have this central government trying to withdraw back this money supply. So they increase the interest rates. Now we have inflation going up on one side, and we have interest rates as well going up on one side. So we have two lines going up on one side, that is inflation and interest rates as well. So we have to now see what impact it will create. We know inflation is going to cause rise of raw materials, rise of goods, rise of services. So you end up paying more, and because you end up paying more, the impact, you're going to have an impact on your savings. You're going to save less. Your savings in your bank account is going to reduce. The amount of money you can invest into any other assets would reduce. And with this other line going up, that is the interest rates going up, you have this other worry that now you have to pay more on your borrowed money. Now you might have borrowed money for your house, you might have borrowed money to purchase a consumer good, you might have borrowed money for purchasing a car or any personal need. Because of cheap money you want to spend on a personal need as well, you have borrowed money for that aspect as well. So now because of rising interest, you have to shell out more money to the borrowed money, right? Whatever money you have borrowed, you have to pay back to the people who have lent it to you. So now with this increase in the interest rate, we are shelling out more money on the goods as well as on the borrowed money. You now have even much reduced savings, much reduced money to invest on. So the burger, what you're eating today, one burger you are affording today for 100 rupees, maybe, just as a hypothetical case. You have one burger, you're eating it for 100 rupees, and then 5 years down the line, you'll realize that the same 100 rupees can now buy half this burger. Well, I'm talking about a burger, but if it's going to impact your essentials, if your essentials are going to reduce by 50%, can you imagine the impact it can have on your mental well-being? It can have impact on your health, it can have impact on your energy which you need to eat these essentials, right? It's going to have an impact on all aspects. It's going to cause misery in some lives, especially people who are from a low income class, people who have, average kind of income. It can cause real misery due to inflation. So this is the way inflation will have impact into your lives. So now what can you do? What can you do so that you can combat this very inflation and you're able to afford this very burger today? One burger for 100 rupees, you're still able to pay the 150 or 180 or 200 rupees down the 5 years line to have the same one burger, or maybe even more burgers down the line. So there are various instruments in which you can invest so that you can afford, so that you can retain or increase your purchasing power in the future. Today your purchasing power might be less because of high inflation, high interest rates, but going forward your purchasing power can improve if you have control on your flexible expenses and you only cater to your needs. Once you cater to your needs, you have enough savings, enough cash flow, then you invest this cash flow into assets which have beat inflation historically. And these assets are gold, it's property, it's stocks, it's even this floating rate instruments which have been come up with the government of India. You can invest in those because with rising interest, the floating rate interest also rises to so that you don't lose the purchasing power of money. So these are the various instruments which you can invest, but nevertheless, when you are investing into these assets, you also need to know how much allocation you need to do in these various assets depending on your age, depending on your objective of the financial objective in the future, to cater to your education maybe, to cater to your retirement maybe, to cater for any kind of vacation maybe. Depending on that particular need, you need to decide your asset allocation, because age also is crucial to decide your asset allocation. So in general, it is said, as per the market research, it is said that 30% allocation is sufficient enough in all these assets, but nevertheless it also depends on your age. So I am taking this mentorship program for my mentees so that I can train them on how much percentage allocation they need to do when they have the required cash into maybe stocks, into maybe property, into gold. And it's important to do this allocation depending on the market valuation. When the markets are undervalued, how to understand the market valuation, whether they are undervalued, so that you can invest when the assets are undervalued, so that you can gain significantly in the future, in the long run. That's all I want to share. In case you have missed to share and subscribe it to your friends and relatives, please do so that they can as well gain from this financial lesson on inflation. So combat the inflation, invest, stay invested so that you can combat inflation in the long run and secure your financial toughness. See you.